Hi, everyone. My name is David Da Vinci. I'm one of the CTOs here at Ibanera. What I'm going to be showing you guys is our product development, give you a little bit of an idea of our future roadmap and projects that are coming to a head here in January, as well as completed project and how much headway we've really made this year. I guess I'm just going to start where it all started, and that comes with the NFT platform. So what I'm going to first show you is an NFT launchpad, minting engine, and exchange. Essentially, this is a platform where people, anybody can come in, buy NFTs, sell NFTs, mint NFTs. You know, all you do in this case, in this version of it, is you connect your wallet. Now my wallet's connected. If I want, I can go and I can create new NFTs, and I can mint NFTs to be listed on the marketplace. I can create NFT collections. I can explore the marketplace, different categories. Let's say I want to look at something. I can see the person's profile, their volume, floor price, items listed, owners, the activity of the individual NFT. So who has owned it before, what's happened with it, the analytics, if it's been traded, volume, floor price, listing, sale, owners, so on and so forth. And if I want to, I can buy the NFT. Right? And then here it's going to connect to my wallet, and essentially I don't want to waste money right now because this is all just test stuff, but I can literally buy the NFT. So this is a full marketplace. So there's, ranking, trending, watch lists, you have your own collections. This account's not really too built out, but here's all the NFT collections, which I've created. I can go into these collections. You can obviously set a bunch of details into it. You can list your product on the market, set a countdown timer, how long it's going to be available, so on and so forth. There's a lot of functionality. You guys can get to this by going to monex.ibanera.com. And this is basically the front end of our minting engine. This product, what you're looking at right here, can be white labeled. It can be refactored. There's a lot that can happen with this product. What's really powerful about this product is it's a full marketplace. It's not just a place to list and sell and buy NFTs or just mint NFTs, which is, some of the stuff that we're doing with the merchant stuff and the processing stuff. But it's also like a full OpenSea.io. And if you're not familiar with that, it's one of the largest NFT marketplaces. And as you can see, it's extremely responsive and fast, lightning fast. Whether you're on mobile devices, whatever you're on, the platform is built for immediate load times, lazy loading, skeleton loading, extremely scalable. As a matter of fact, we're using a technology stack. So this is the architecture behind it, which is a very, new age technology stack. Everything we're building here at Ibanera is basically taking out the newest technology to date, building upon that framework. So this is a little bit technical, I'm sure, for most people, but this is essentially the server architecture behind the platform, the database schema behind the platform, the Web3 architecture behind the platform, the Launchpad dashboard, and so on and so forth. So before software is developed here at Ibanera, what we do is, just like you're building a house, when you're working with extremely high-level technology developers, people that have master's degrees and have gone to Ivy League schools, they usually do things correctly. And that starts with the architectural phase. Because if you build without architecture, the product isn't scalable. And on top of that, if you're looking to build on top of the product, if you don't have architecture, well, then a simple job can take months, even weeks, sometimes I've seen recently years. So everything is built with proper architecture. Once the architecture is built, then we create the design. Once those designs are created, they get skinned. So this front end's written in Next.js. It's like React. It's a very new language. That's why it's so fast. That's why it loads so quick. That's why it's so smooth. All this has to do with essentially, the language it was written in. And to the back end of the system, this is the management. So here you can see your users, collections, NFTs, listings, sales, volume. You're able to see who's minted, who's done what, who's created collections, who's reported NFTs. Maybe they were vulgar or things of that nature. And you can even add different categories. So this is a really cool front end. It's really just here for us. We can do a lot with this. You could refactor this for ticket marketplaces, airlines. You could turn this into a completely different thing. The functionality and the nuts and bolts beneath it are really the power here. And we've built a lot off of that. So this was the first step. We created the marketplace, we created the minting engine, and we created a system that allows us to essentially mint, burn, store, and hold custody of NFTs. And that's what you just saw here. Now that goes into the next phase. This is essentially the merchant processing side of this platform. It does not connect to this front end per se. This is completely separated. This is using functions of this platform, such as the minting, the burning, writing transactions on the blockchain. This is the future of merchant processing. So essentially what we're doing at Ibanera is something nobody's ever done before. And we're taking a irrefutable transaction, which is on the blockchain, and we're writing this on the blockchain for every merchant transaction. If there's a discrepancy of a digital good or service being delivered, there can be no discrepancy because we have something that's irrefutable. And that's what really sets us apart from the others. That's where we are novel per se. Michael and David and the founders had the insight to see that Web3 was the future and took advantage of this and was one of the first companies in the world, and still the first, to ever get listed through WorldPay and Visa MasterCard to have their own BIN. So they're able to process for NFT transactions and much more when it comes to the Web3 side. So that's what this backend is. So this was the next phase. And this is a piece of art. So essentially, this is showing you a lot of, this is all dummy data, but this is basically showing you Ibanera's backend. Now, just like everything else, as you can see, it's extremely fast. Load times are instant, the same kind of framework we're using here. And here's where we're having all the merchant volume of the business go through. Essentially, like, you have all your reports for your mints, your queues, your failed, your pending transactions per each individual merchant. So here, like, I can even build this like cool pie chart, right? And this is showing what percent of the transactions are coming from what merchants, which, in this case, you can see this is the majority of the volume right now. And then here you can see the SID comparison. So you have the mid comparison and the SID comparison, which is the site IDs. And then here you have your transaction volume on a day-to-day basis. And all these charts can obviously be seen in different formats, full pagination. You can pull out the data, export them, view the data views of the charts. And essentially, this is showing our entire business and all the processing that is going through our NFT side of our marketplace. And that is working with customers that might not necessarily be using our front end and our marketplace, but they might want to be obviously minting their merchant transactions as NFTs. So to use this end of it, all you have to do is connect to it through an API. So essentially, this is an API which we built for the product. And this product, any merchant with a gateway can connect to. So now you can integrate your gateway, and every single transaction that goes through will get minted as an NFT. And that minting process allows us to use that transaction and fight chargebacks, discrepancies, where people are saying, no, I didn't do this. Well, yes, you did. And here is something that is a distributed ledger that everybody can see. So let me go to the approved transactions. So these are approved transactions. If I click on this mint button, it takes me directly to a public channel. This is the block explorer for the Polygon network. Right now, we're minting all the transactions on the Polygon blockchain, which is one of the best blockchains. In our phase 3, we also will be doing Ethereum and Stellar. These covers 3 of the top blockchains. People don't use Bitcoin. It's really just a store of value. Other blockchains are being used these days essentially because of their speed and efficiency, while Bitcoin is like your slowest mover. Think about it like a tank, right? It was here first. It's withstood all sorts of stress testing, but it's not really made for transactions. That's why people relate it to gold and why it holds such a value and it continues to go up, because it's not really, you're not buying Bitcoin for the underlying technology. You're buying it because of the theory of Bitcoin and the fact that it's been stress tested and it's been here the longest. And now the regulatory framework is becoming more acceptable to Bitcoin. Bitcoin would not be something anyone builds any systems on. Polygon, Ethereum, Stellar's mainly used in banking. Polygon is now one of the most popular for everything. Ethereum was the most popular, still controls the majority of the market share. So essentially, every new blockchain we add allows us to mint the transaction in a different blockchain. And we also do a lot of other stuff like create wallets and such. So here you have your analytics of the business, all the merchant processing. Here you have all the different merchants, right? So this is where you can manage them. These are all the merchants that were added. Here I can edit the merchant details. I can create a new webhook URL for them. I can disable their account. I don't want to do that, obviously. I can add new merchants. So essentially, right now, we're just using Aquila and NMI. These are the 2 gateways, but this will change soon. We are working currently right now in creating a gateway that is much more advanced than authorized.net, NMI, Aquila. I mean, anybody can beat those guys. We are using a language called Golang. Go is one of the newest languages by Google, made for high performance server applications. And it's lightweight framework. So not only is it the fastest thing around, so imagine a gateway that could handle 86 million transactions per nanosecond. Not only that, but it's cheap to run. So it's, as technology, it develops and we go into 2023, it's one of my jobs here to ensure that we're always using the best framework. And Golang is the best and the most costly to build on, but it's also the fastest. So we are about to release our own gateway in January, and this gateway will be faster and better, have a better tech stack than anything that's on the market today. Not only that, I've purchased a supercomputer to do some transaction testing, and we'll be releasing some PR articles around how we have the fastest gateway in the world. And that's true because nobody has in this industry yet refactored or built a gateway in Golang focused on transaction speed. We're the first. And there's a lot of really cool other things that will come with it. So essentially for the NFT platform here, for the merchant side, you'll have another button here, which will be our own gateway. And then eventually maybe we'll add authorized.net also. We can connect any gateway we want. In the later phases, you'll see eMerchant Pay. You'll see a bunch of other processors of which we have relationships with as selections here. But we're doing them a la carte, as where when there's business, we integrate them. So essentially, this is where you add the merchant details. What type of transaction? Is it a 2D? Is it a 3D transaction? Gas fees, that has to do with the minting. When you're creating a transaction on the blockchain, you've probably heard of mining and gas fees. If you haven't, I know it probably sounds complex, but I'll make it real simple. When you do a crypto transaction, it puts it up into a cloud network. That cloud network is a bunch of supercomputers or regular computers or anyone's computer that is getting rewarded to use their computer's power to create these encrypted transactions, which are what the distributed ledger of the blockchain is. Those encrypted transactions, they take computer power to mine them. So you're basically doing all these mathematical equations, creating these encryption hashes, and essentially taking the transaction and making it so no hacker, nothing in the world could break into it because of the level of encryption. Only the two people that created the transaction can see it. So it's a private distributed ledger that's hosted on a public network, which is why it's so powerful into the future of things, because everybody wants transparency, but everybody also wants privacy. So essentially, when you're mining a transaction, when you create a crypto transaction, it goes onto the blockchain, mines a transaction, and then people are rewarded for that. So what you're doing is you're paying a gas fee. That gas fee is to create those transactions. That's getting paid out to the network. So this is where the merchant can add the we can add whether we're going to charge them a gas fee or not. Obviously, based on the gateway you're using, so I have Aquila selected. If I select NMI, you have an NMI ID and NMI secret, and then you have the account credentials. So there's two types of accounts, right? You have the master mid, then you have the sub merchants under that master mid. So essentially, think about it like this. I'm a business. I have one merchant account. I want to set up 10 more merchant accounts under the same business. Lots of businesses do this for the factor of load balancing and doing other things of that nature, basically spreading the load and volume of the merchant transactions. So let's just say one of my merchant accounts has $50,000 is the limit per month. Well, maybe I'll set 5 more up with $50,000 limits. Then I can process $250,000 a month. So they do that through load balancing. We're also working on some artificial intelligence-based load balancing systems, which takes into account risk score, KYC status, and all sorts of other customer variables in assigning a risk score to the actual individual client being processed to prevent against fraud, dark web, sanction lists, and much more. So we're going deep into that in our next phases, but in the first phase, we'll have our traditional load balancing. So once you create the business merchant, you can list sub-merchants underneath that business. So if I want to list 10 other businesses underneath, no problem, I add them right to the list. And then I click submit, very simple. Next to that here, I have the user listings. So in the user listings, this is where you're adding users. Well, not adding, managing the users that are using this backend. So this is just like any CRM system, right? You have a tiered user base, right? You have the administrators, you have customer support, you have people that work in finance, so on and so forth. Same theory, right? So if I want to edit, let's say John Delar's here, name, I can do that. If I want to change his permissions of what he's allowed to do on the back end, I can do that. Or if I want to restrict him from even using this thing, I can do that, right? And then here, this is where you actually add the different types of users. So you have administrators, business accounts, sub-merchant accounts. And what's really cool about this is if, let's just say you're a merchant and you want to create, and you have 10 merchant accounts, and you want somebody just to see the analytics that's managing one of the accounts, right? You don't want them to see all 10 of them. You can add them under just the sub-merchant and select which merchant you want them to see the analytics for, and only that merchant. Or you could put them under the entire business so they can see every single merchant that's under that business in an aggregate view. Or we can create an administrative account like mine here that gives me full reign to do whatever I want. And then next you have your transaction summary. So essentially here, this is showing you all the transactions and a summary of those transactions. Here we can break it down. So here you have your approved transactions, which you can filter by different variables, right? You have the business name, mid, SID, transaction type. So if we're looking for a chargeback, right? A transaction that is correlating with a chargeback, I just go right in here, type in the details, finds a transaction, click this button, takes me to this, and I use this to fight the chargeback. In our version 3, we're integrating to verified by Visa. So essentially Visa has given us the green light to integrate directly into Visa and MasterCard. So that way, instead of having to click here, get this, send this to Visa and MasterCard and say, hey, here's the proof that this thing was minted. And here's the proof that this was the transaction. It's automatically happening. And that's what the next integration will happen in phase 3 that comes out in March. So essentially, we no longer even have to send back the chargebacks to Visa and MasterCard. They'll automatically be pulled by their system when the chargeback comes in. So more stuff. But for now, you can just search. And as you can see, everything is lightning fast. And then here, failed transactions, same thing, right? And then you have lastly, your quote listings. So this right here is the back end. And then you can always switch it if you have eyes that might get hurt by the white. And you can also change the layout, a little stack side view here, or you can change it to your classic view and to the default view. So just adding some versatility. As you can see, this thing is, much smoother, cleaner than probably any of the stuff you see these days, like authorized.net, NMI. Wait till you see what our Gateway Guardian looks like. So that is the NFT minting backend side for the merchants that merchants get access to. Not only do they get access to, we use it to be able to verify and look through all of our data, fight chargebacks, whatever the case is. And the phase 3 of this will be released in March. Essentially, right now, we're dependent on some other services like Fireblocks for the minting and wallet creation and burning. We're removing them because they can't keep up with us. So we're building our own custody solution and basically replacing Fireblocks completely. And we have the verified by Visa integration, and we're integrating 3 more blockchains, as well as we're integrating the ability to buy NFTs on the front end here, because right now, if you want to buy an NFT, you have to connect your wallet, right? So this is my profile. I'm connected to it. I can buy NFTs, but if I buy here, if I want to list this one for sale, I can list it for sale. But if I want to buy an NFT, right, I'm going to have to use the money in my wallet here. I can't use Visa and MasterCard right now. So we're also going to be adding Visa and MasterCard rails onto the front end of the platform. So you can buy NFTs from this front end piece with Visa and MasterCard, which a good example of how this can be used is we have clients that are in the sports sector, right? And in sports, there's tickets. So we could refactor this entire thing to a ticketing exchange for sports. And now people could buy, literally create NFT tickets, NFT memorabilia for sports, and use Visa and MasterCard. If they don't know how to use crypto or create a wallet, they can just buy it with their Visa MasterCard, and we will even hold custody of the NFT. So that means that it'll be hosted on our own wallets. And if they want it, they can extract it and pull it to their own wallet. But it's a fun fact that maybe 4% of the population even knows what a wallet is, right? The Web3 world hasn't really caught up to the world yet. So the idea here, and what's brilliant about Ibanera, is that we've been meshing Web 2 with Web 3. We're creating environments where we're not breaking this current supply chain of the Web 2 world and processing and financial world while integrating Web 3 on the back end, which really, really sets us apart from everybody in the world right now. Everybody's trying to figure out how to bring things to Web 3, but you can't because, John down the street or Jane Doe doesn't know how to set up a wallet, has no idea about the blockchain, doesn't know how to do the basic things, probably never even bought a piece of cryptocurrency. So the idea behind Ibanera is meshing these two worlds where even if the user has no idea what crypto is, they can participate in these types of environments. And so with that, there's the API documentation. This is to connect to it, the architecture. And as I said, we have the gateway phase coming up in January and the phase 3 of this NFT backend coming in March 1st.